The Xbox 720, or should I say the 720p. This is Hector from Not Too Nerdy, and I want to talk about a rumor that's going around about the Xbox One. Now, this story comes out from a former IGN journalist. His name is Jeremy Conrad. Now, Conrad states that according to the embargo of Call of Duty Ghosts, the Xbox One embargo release date is November 12th, while Activision put the original embargo on the 5th. So, in case you guys don't know what embargo does, it allows a game company to release the dates that people are allowed to review a game. So, if their game's coming out November 5th and they want their embargo to be on November 5th, then no one can review the game until that day. Now, Activision does have their embargo on the day that Call of Duty is being released, but for some reason, Microsoft has their embargo for the game not releasing until the November 12th. Now, people are saying the reason why this is happening is because the game itself for Xbox One only goes to 720p resolution at 60 frames per second, while the PlayStation 4 goes at 1080p at 60 frames per second. Now, to some people, that's not a big deal. But to others, that's questioning the whole power of, the Xbox One. Now, this is supposed to be their big game. Microsoft always has a big connection with Call of Duty. They always get everything first. And the fact that you're going to get a higher resolution for the PlayStation 4 than you are the, Microsoft Xbox One, that's sort of a big deal. Now, it's not a big deal right now because, to be honest with you, we're used to seeing 720p anyway for Call of Duty and other games. But the fact that we're talking about next gen, the fact that they want people to move on to next gen, you're telling me that I could get an Xbox 360 and get a game that's 720p at 60 frames per second for Call of Duty, and you expect me to move up to the Xbox One and do the same exact thing? What's the incentive of someone buying the Xbox One if there's games that might have the same exact resolution as the 360? So that's not looking good at all if the rumors are true, because we only know it's rumors right now. But we already do know for a fact that the PlayStation 4 is running at 1080p resolution at 60 frames per second. Now, that's the only reason why we see previews and different things of the game for PlayStation 4. We haven't seen anything for the Xbox One. Now, it's kind of weird because this is supposed to be a game that, that Microsoft always highlights, and that's Call of Duty. Like, they have majority of the Call of Duty, fanboys are always with Microsoft. So, it's kind of shocking to hear this news if it is true. And, I kind of wonder what you guys think about this. Do you really think that it's a big deal that the game is only 720p at 60 frames per second? Or do you think that, this is really, really bad? This might be a bad thing for Microsoft. Now, for the people who say that, maybe they just decided to do the embargo on that date just because, there's got to be a reason. There's no reason why a company will say, you know what, we're going to release our embargo a week later. Unless you have something to hide about the game. Because it gives people less time to know information that's important to them. I would love to know if I was planning to buy Call of Duty for, let's say, the 360, but I hold off to buy it for the Xbox One. Why should I do that if it's going to be the exact same resolution at the exact same frame, per second? What is the incentive of me moving on to next gen if it's going to do the same thing? And if I see that, let's say the PlayStation 4 is making strides to get closer to what PC does now. Now, I'm not saying it's even close to a good gaming PC, but I'm saying the fact that it can be 1080p resolution, that it is 60 frames per second, what motivation do I have to go with something that I could get with right now with this current generation? So to me, that seems like a big thing for Microsoft to be hiding this on top of it. I mean, it's smart business sense if you think about it, to hide this from the people, but if this is true, this doesn't look good because let's face it. There's games like Rise that they already came out and said it's only 30 frames per second, and they try to make excuses for it. And we also have Dead Rising 3 that also is 30 frames per second, and that's barely 30 frames per second because they're having a hard time keeping the frames per second up to 30 frames per second. So, I mean, do you really care about frames per second that much? I mean, back before, in this generation, frames per second, we didn't care as much on a console because we knew that our limitations. But now that it's next gen, if you want people to move on to next gen, it better have things that will separate us from the original console, from this generation. And the fact that we can get 30 frames per second now, why do we want to see 30 frames per second next generation? Why do we want to see 720p next generation? So that's the thing they have to think about. Like, is it worth moving on to next generation if you're having games that are identical to what's going on now? Because definitely for Call of Duty for Xbox One, if it's 720p at 60 frames per second, there's no point of anyone, and I mean anyone, moving up to get an Xbox One version as opposed to Xbox 360 version. There's no point. More people are going to be playing on Xbox 360 because more people are going to have the console. Plus, we already know it's 720p at 60 frames like it always is. So, to me, that makes no sense if this is true, of course, because it's still a rumor. But if this is true, it makes no sense for anyone to move up to next gen, at least for the Xbox One side of it. So just let me know what you guys think about this whole thing. I mean, like I said, this is a rumor. If you want to see more about it, just look up, just Google it and say Microsoft embargo prohibits journalists from revealing Call of Duty Ghosts in 720p on Xbox One. So look that up and you'll see a whole bunch of different articles talking about this. So that's pretty much it. I want to hear what you guys think about this whole subject. Do you even care about frames per second? Do you care about 720p? Like, does resolution make a difference to you? Just let me know in the comments down below. So this is Hector from Not Too Nerdy. I'm out. See you, YouTube.
Need more arcane power. Need more time.
Foul minions, stay back! Back! May this wedge hold. The Skeleton King.
The power of the fallen star awakened me, and soon all will suffer as I have suffered. Gods, bring me his bones!
Please.